first set of names are the names of 68 Issei who went in to form a committee to find out what happened to James Wakasa. The rest of the names are names of Topazans who may have been family members of those 68. These names are read in their honor.
Welcome, everybody. The musical interludes that you'll be hearing tonight are performed by the Marquette Jazz Collective. My name is Wakasa. The wreath that stands here symbolizes the wreaths that were created for James Wakasa's funeral in 1943. If you look closely, they are made of solely paper flowers by our student community, just as the Topaz community had done for James Wakasa in preparation of his funeral. Today, I would like to begin with a quote from Tom Akashi, a Japanese-American internee who was also at Topaz Camp. The interviewer asks, "A friend of the family, James Wakasa, was shot and killed by an MP sentry, and this was about 6 months in. What was the effect on you and your father and the rest of your family?" Since we knew him, it was a personal thing. As far as my father was concerned, they had the boiler room, they used to drink together, and he went to the University of Wisconsin. He's an educated man. They exchanged ideas and they knew each other's feelings. And so when he was killed, he took it hard. And of course, he became one of the committee members to see what they could do about it so it wouldn't happen again. But to him,
from all
it was a
directions.
loss.
The people rose and bared their heads at times. They sat down again and listened when there were speeches. The ceremony was quite simple.
Stop. What you just heard is a description written in 1943 about what a person saw at James Wakasa's funeral on April 19th, 1943. But there are problems here. First, the person who wrote this was on the administrative staff of the War Relocation Administration. Second, he wasn't just any staff person, but he was the information officer, or the censor of what Issei and Nisei wrote in the funeral on April 19th, 1943 was for a death most untimely. That moment, April 11th, 1943 at 7:30 p.m., the shooting.
Topaz, Utah, April 12th. While attempting to crawl through the fence at 7:30 Sunday evening, James Hatsuki Wakasa, 63, resident of the Central Utah Relocation Center here, was shot and instantly killed by a military police sentry on duty in a guard tower, after he had failed to heed 4 warnings from sentries. Bullet wound of chest. Course of bullet, anterior to posterior.
Cause of death. The residents of Topaz did not sit around and wait for more news from the Central Utah Relocation Project. 5 Issei from Block 36, Block 29, and Block 4 went to the spot where James Wakasa's body was found. They wanted to do their own investigation.
To complete our investigation for our records, we walked toward the scene of the shooting from Block 36. Together as we approached the west-south fence, approximately 35 feet away, when an Army Jeep came speeding from the north on the road beyond the fence, and upon seeing us, came to an abrupt halt. The driver stood up from his seat, turned to his companion, grabbed the submachine gun from the latter's hand. He jumped off the Jeep and came dashing to the fence, pointing his gun at us. "Scatter, or you'll get the same thing as the other guy got." We immediately obeyed his orders, given at the
From
point
December
of
7th, 1941 through September 29th, 1947, the United States used its war powers to incarcerate more than 110,000 American citizens and resident aliens. It confined most of them in barbed wire centers under armed guard, where they were held for an unspecified time. This action was taken against Americans of Japanese ancestry and their parents, a group who had not committed any crimes or been accused of taking any action to warrant such adverse treatment.
From Frank Murphy, Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, dissenting in Korematsu versus United States, December 18, 1944.
this exclusion of all persons of Japanese ancestry, both alien and non-alien, from the Pacific Coast area on a plea of military necessity in the absence of martial law ought not to be approved. Such exclusion goes over the very brink of constitutional power and falls into the ugly abyss.
We arrived at Delta
of race.
at 8 o'clock, but we were all too tired to be excited.
Mine Okubo, citizen 13660, remembers arriving at the Central Utah Relocation Project.
The chief of project reports at Topaz came on board the train and handed to each of us the first copy of the Topaz Times. We chuckled as we read, "Topaz, the jewel of the desert." The paper described the camp and gave instructions
Welcome to Topaz, the Central Utah Relocation Project. Topaz, Utah.
From the official guidebook to the center.
Dear friend, this directory will serve, we hope, to acquaint you with the services which Topaz has to offer you in making your stay here as pleasant and purposeful as possible. It is true of good citizens and good neighbors everywhere that their life is more satisfactory and enjoyable as they are given opportunities to participate in the life of the community.
This is Topaz.
Yoshiko Uchida was a young resident of Berkeley, California, when she and her family were forcibly removed from their homes, sent to Tanforan and then Topaz. She describes the official literature from the Topaz War Relocation Administration Administrator on remembering the blocks.
Inside the hall, the inductors, men and women, were seated along the inner side of the mess tables, arranged in the shape of a horseshoe. A room was now assigned to each family. We discovered that there were 6 rooms to a barrack, 12 barracks to a block. Every block had its own mess hall, recreation hall, and combination of laundry, showers, and toilets. There was no privacy in our one-room home. People came and went. Bowl sessions lasted all day and far into the night. We were tired of this shiftless existence and were restless. A feeling of uncertainty hung over the camp. We were worried about the future. Plans were made and remade as we tried to decide what to do.
War Relocation Administration Form 26.
Name.
Wakasa Hatsuaki.
Other names.
James.
Person to notify in case of emergency.
None here or abroad.
Military or naval service.
U.S. Camp Dodge, Des Moines, Iowa. Civilian cooking instructor of cooking. From 1917 to 1918.
Anything else you want us to know?
I'm a member of Hotel and Restaurant Employee International Alliance of the American Federation of Labor, Local 44, San Francisco, California.
Today is May Day, where many individuals are coming together to show solidarity for remembering working class and labor history struggles. What I'll hope you'll take away from the past 3 days of the Asian American Voices series is that the process of constructing and imagining the nation and our own identity as United States citizens is as much about what we selectively choose to remember as what we unconsciously, breathing, thinking individuals. We must continue to look to history to understand the vulnerability that currently exists and the potential for future state-sanctioned injustices to be carried out in our post-September 11, 2001 political climate of unwielding executive branch wartime powers. The organizers of this series want to remind you about the importance of remembering America's triumphs as well as injustices of war, imperialist conquest, and domination condoned under the political auspices of national defense and homeland. So again, I wish to repeat that this is a conscious decision to raise awareness about the U.S. internment of Japanese descendants, mostly U.S. citizens, and specifically about the biography of James Wakasa, who has been marginalized in Wisconsin history, and is a symbol of the broader marginalization of Asian American subjects in Wisconsin local and state history. The assertion of pan-ethnic Asian American identity is a response to and a form of resistance to this history of embedded social, legal, and political exclusion from the rights accorded to every U.S. citizen. In honor of Asian American Heritage Month, never before has an event of such diverse collaborations been carried out by a small group of Asian American undergraduate, graduate students, faculty, and staff leaders on campus.